Hey guys, Mark here. Welcome to a video that's going to cover a rather difficult and confusing question that I had trouble with on a final. So this is what we're given, and the objective is to print out hope. And first thing I'm going to do is encourage you to pause the video and see if you can figure it out. This is what's not given, but if you can figure out this part and understand why, that'd be cool. But let's get back to it nonetheless. So I'm going to go ahead and trace this. We have a method that takes in a string, another string, and another string. We could have arbitrarily named it anything else because we're passing. Anyway, the string 1 is going to equal to s1.substring12, which means that s is actually going to be equal to substring 1 of 2. So whatever we define s1 is equal to, it's going to go from inclusive 1 to exclusive 2, which is really just going to be the first element, which is z in this case, of what we did figure out. Should do that in a different color. Okay. And that's what we have to follow here. So we have that. That's all we need to know about S. And we move down and we have an if statement. If is a statement, not a loop. And if you've watched my other videos, you would know how adamant I am about that and understanding that. We have if s1.length is greater than s2.length. Both of these are going to return integers. And, which means and S2 compared to S3 is less than 0, which means that S2 must be smaller than S3, and we'll get back to that in one moment. It has to be less than S3. That's what the less than 0 denotes. And another condition for this statement to be true and to have this return statement execute, S3 index of S must be greater than 0. And for purpose following this order, I'm going to start from the end. In order for S3 of index of S greater than 0, that means that S3, the index of S is Z right now, must be greater than 0, which means in English terms that Z cannot be at the 0th index. That means we cannot have Z at that index, right? And you can see that that's correct. Now that we know this is correct, we can get on to the next one. That was a bad check mark. Boom. Compare S2 to S3 must be less than 0. S2 compared to S3, well, this is a little bit easier because H, it starts from the beginning. It takes H and it compares it to Y. If this was H and this was H, then it would take HO and compare it to HZ, and then HZ would be greater because Z comes later than O. Now in this case, H is going to be less than Y, so this is going to be fulfilled as well. Then we're going to go back to this. S1 must be greater than, S1 length must be greater than the length of S2. In this case, S1 length is going to be greater than S2, I believe by one element. And so what's going to execute is this return statement. And this return statement says as follows: S1 substring inclusive 0, exclusive 1, which really is just going to take the first element of S1, which is H. So we have H, and then it's going to say plus, which is concatenation, no spaces, S2 substring 1. And when you have substring without a second parameter, it's going to say that where do you want to start counting or start displaying what we're looking at. And that's going to be looking at S2, starting at 1, which is not H. From H, continue on, which is going to give us the HOPE. Apologize for the handwriting on the mouse draws, but I believe you can read that. And if you can't, I hope you enjoy the new art exhibition exhibit on your screen. And that's how we get this to print. Now, that's the result, but this is a very tedious thing to figure out, because let's say you have one of these conditions isn't met, you're just going to get this else statement that's going to go, and it's just going to return the basically the first element of each one. And what's important, not what's important, this is just a mean thing. Well, I guess it's redundant, but I guess it's redundant in general because this should do the same thing. 0, 1, 0, 1. Oh, no. I'm wrong. This is starting from 0. Disregard what I just said. Completely wrong. I just wanted to point out that this was a tricky question. It's a very tricky question, or rather, it's just a hard question. If you do take away the second argument, then it's not inclusive exclusive. It's inclusively starting from the index. So if we took away the 1, it would just be starting from 0 and until the end of the string. So that's how you trace this, and that's how you work it through. I hope this explanation is helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below, as well as any suggestions. If you have a better methodology of figuring this out, or any kind of tracing that you can do to help with this, because the regular tracing where you have your table and you keep track of everything, it's not as easy. The only thing I can recommend is creating a really big table and having the conditions of S1 length greater than, like, write them all out and then check mark it when you figure out what you need to do to get the first one, and then check mark it when you get the second one. And then up here you can even write down your examples of what you would what you're hypothesizing before you go ahead and write on your paper and things like that. But anywho, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.